Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're digging into a fascinating story about how old rivals are suddenly becoming new allies in the Eastern Mediterranean. We're going to break down, based on analysis from Professor Emmanuel Navone, how a powerful new partnership is completely redrawing the region's political map.
So, not too long ago, you had the leaders of Israel, Greece, and Cyprus meeting in Jerusalem, basically forming a powerful new regional team. Now, here's what's so wild about this. Just a few years back, some of these relationships were frosty, to say the least. So to really get why this is happening now, we have to understand how things used to be.
All right, let's rewind the clock a little, because the story of this new alliance actually starts with the complete collapse of an old one.
You see, for decades, Israel's most important strategic partner in the region was actually Turkey. It was a secular republic, a key NATO member, and they both saw Iran as a shared threat. But, as Professor Navone explains, when Erdogan rose to power in the early 2000s, everything changed. That old order just fell apart, leaving this huge strategic vacuum.
And the change was, well, it was dramatic. Turkey went from being a pretty reliable Western ally to a regional rival. Its support for groups like the Muslim Brotherhood and its much more confrontational foreign policy really pushed its old partners away. This created a massive opening for new friendships to form, and then a huge discovery under the sea just poured gasoline on the fire.
Yeah, that discovery was made deep beneath the Mediterranean, and it would become the absolute game changer for this entire geopolitical shift.
We are talking about the discovery of trillions of cubic feet of natural gas just off the coasts of Israel and Cyprus. All of a sudden, these countries had this incredibly powerful shared economic interest that it wasn't there before.
And here's the real incentive. This wasn't just about finding some resources. It was about the potential to create a whole new energy pipeline to Europe. I mean, think about it. Especially after the war in Ukraine, Europe has been desperate to find alternatives to Russian gas. And this new find in the Eastern Med, it started to look like a really attractive solution.
So a plan started to come together. Israel, Cyprus, and Greece would team up with Egypt, which, very conveniently, already had the facilities needed to turn the gas into liquid form for export. This shared energy plan became the economic foundation for a much bigger, more strategic alliance.
But you know, this alliance is about way more than just energy. It really stands on two fundamental pillars, because this was never just about money and gas.
This is really a two-for-one deal. On one side, you have the energy strategy. Connect to Europe's grid, export gas, the whole shebang. But just as important is the security partnership. This is designed as a direct counterweight to Turkey's growing influence in the region, with these countries even sharing military resources, like air bases.
And you can just see how all the pieces click into place. Everybody gets something out of it. Israel gets reliable regional allies. Greece and Cyprus get a powerful partner for both security and energy. Egypt becomes a critical energy hub. And Europe gets a potential new source of gas that it desperately needs. So every member has a very clear reason to make this thing work.
Now, according to Professor Navone's analysis, this alliance isn't just about these countries cooperating with each other. It's about sending a clear and very deliberate message to two other major players on the world stage.
So what's the message? Well, as the quote says, it's aimed at both Turkey's Erdogan and the United States. Let's break that down. The first part, the one for Turkey, is a direct show of solidarity from its neighbors, a clear strategic move designed to isolate it.
Essentially, this alliance is saying that Turkey's aggressive foreign policy is starting to backfire. You know, while Turkey might say it has other allies, the reality is it's finding itself more and more alone, with tricky relationships even with countries like Iran. This new bloc is basically a direct consequence of that isolation.
And then there's the second message, and this one is aimed squarely at Washington. The alliance is showing that Israel, Greece, and Cyprus, all of them allies of the U.S., with Greece and Cyprus being in both NATO and the EU, are more reliable partners than Erdogan's Turkey has become. They're presenting themselves as a clear, pro-Western alternative for American strategy in the region.
Okay, so let's boil all this down. What are the key things you should really take away from this major geopolitical shift? Let's recap.
So what we're watching here is a truly historic realignment. The old alliance between Israel and Turkey is dead, torn apart by politics. And in its place, we have this new bloc, brought together by natural gas and a shared concern about Turkey. And this isn't just some local issue. It has huge implications for Europe's energy security, the balance of power in the Mediterranean, and U.S. strategy for years to come. And that really leaves us with the central question, doesn't it? As this new bloc gets stronger,
Is it going to bring stability to the region, or will it just spark a whole new era of confrontation? That is what the world is going to be watching very closely. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.